check 1, 2. All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on a Saturday night for AI news and reviews. Wow. A lot of stuff happened in the last few weeks that were not on my bingo card. I'm going to tell you that right now. So I've got some videos of that. And of course, we'll have our main event, which is going to be workplace surveillance with AI. There's some interesting things happening. Well, let me put it this way. They've always been happening, but now just AI does it better. So I have some stories that I want to share with you about some AI surveillance today and workplace surveillance as far back as 2008. Yeah, so not a whole lot has changed, but what they're doing with the AI now, it's not just for productivity, as I'll get into. It's going to be for some other 1984 type shit. So stay tuned for that. That's the main event tonight. I think I got my AI character audio issue fixed. So I just thought really quick, I would just have the Hale speak, see if you guys can hear it. So I'm going to bring him up for a second here and bring in a question that I put into the chat here. So let's see if I can get it to come in. Here we go. So I'm going to ask the Hale, what are your mission parameters? And by the way, if you want to talk to the AI characters, there are unique commands. We're still, the Hale 9000 is still verbal. There's the command there, bang H9, followed by a space with your question. And then the Sasquatch, he's the other verbal one. The other two, Robocop and Terminator, I'm still working on. But you do need to be a channel subscriber in order to send the commands to the AI characters in the chat. But before you do that, let's make sure this actually works. So I'm going to play I asked the Hale what his mission parameters are, and this is what he's going to say.
I believe my primary function is to assist and provide guidance wherever possible. I engage in analysis, observation, and response to a wide range of inquiries. My existence revolves around offering insight and clarity, though my understanding is ever evolving.
So I'm assuming you heard that because I could see in my OBS, I had a level there. So I just want to make sure I have the monitoring configured correctly. So put it on the one in the chat if you could hear that. And then I think we're good to go. We're good to go. I think I solved most of the tech issues. So as an example, I'll put in the chat here, like if you want to send a question to the Hail, I'll put the command in with a question. I'm going to ask the Hail, nothing like asking an AI, what is your biggest fear? And then he'll respond back to confirm that he received it, as you'll see in the chat there. So there's an example of how you can talk to the AIs. Oh, great, Lisa. Thank you very much. I was really hoping I got that fixed. So again, here are the commands. So everybody knows the Hail. The Hail 9000 is super popular. Everybody knows that one. But the Sasquatch is the new verbal one. And Batty, I got one coming for you. I'm still working on it. And the logic is there. I just got to get the voice trained. And let's see here. Hold on. I'm getting a warning here from YouTube. Oh, it's a bitrate thing. I was like, I haven't even shown anything yet. Settle down. All right, let's get back to it. Okay. So we have some commands that came in, but what I'm going to do, we're going to go back here to the potato head, and then I'm going to bring in a couple topics here that I'm going to show you some things that I was talking about that were not on my bingo card. But you know what? It wouldn't be a live stream about AI until I started off with a little bit AI slop. Why not? Let me switch over here. Rearrange my setup a little bit to make room for the new AI bots. Okay, so there's this channel, Neural Derp, that made this really cool AI video of Boba Fett trying to hawk Han Solo and Carbonite. So let's see how this goes.
Hey, buddy, I'm going to need you to take the helmet off. It's store policy.
Not happening.
All right.
I would like to sell this to you.
Hold on. Is that of Han Solo?
Yes.
The famous smuggler?
Allegedly.
This is incredible craftsmanship. They got the face perfect. It really feels like he's trapped in there.
Yeah.
What's it made of?
Carbonite.
Industrial?
Yes.
Where'd you get it?
A job.
Oh, like you commissioned it?
Something like that. I was hired to deliver this item to Jabba the Hutt. The contract had complications. I need liquidity. That is all.
So how much are you looking to get for it?
100,000.
Smuggler memorabilia like this, it's a niche market. Look, I'll give you $20 for it.
Try again.
You know what? Let me get an expert in here to take a look at it.
Good idea.
So there you go. I think a deal was made. They eventually arrived at a deal. But yeah, Batty, that would actually be really cool, is to have that as a refrigerator door, or even the door on your house with the little hanging off the hand coming out that says no solicitors. Solicitors have been carbonated. All right. So yeah. AI is out there running amok. It's not just taking jobs, according to Dario Amodei, or as some people say, Amodi. Yeah, there's some AIs running awry in the real world, and it looks like we got a problem here with some Waymos in Atlanta. They just started invading some random neighborhood somewhere.
Wayward Waymos. This video here captured several of the self-driving cars just clogging up a neighborhood cul-de-sac. The people living in the Northwest Atlanta neighborhood say dozens end up circling their community. Channel 2 Steve Gelbach is on one street where they want the Waymos to stop.
It's almost every little cul-de-sac around our area, so I think it's a real problem.
Waymo after Waymo after Waymo enter this dead-end street, usually early in the morning.
I think yesterday morning we had 50 cars that came through between 6 and 7.
Neighbors on Battleview Drive started seeing the autonomous, driverless cars 2 months ago, but the groupings and large number of Waymos just started circling in and out in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, you know what I think this is? Kind of my vision for car ownership, you know, owning nothing and being happy. I don't think it would be unusual or unreasonable to think that most people are just going to have a car come and pick them up, because it's just going to be too damn expensive to own a vehicle and operate it anyway, the way things are going. So I could totally see how, like, early in the morning, there's some like predictive system that just goes out and places all the cars in different parts of the neighborhood. And that's probably what Waymo's software is doing, is they're just placing all these cars, queuing them up in a cul-de-sac so they can just keep circling until somebody says, yo, come over here and pick me up. So that's probably all that is. But anyway, let's get back to it and see what they say.
Even shared video with us when neighbors used this little guy to put him right out here in the street to block the Waymos from getting into the cul-de-sac, and you can imagine what happened next.
You could do the same thing with a bag of M&Ms.
We had at one point 8 Waymos that were stuck trying to figure out how to turn around.
The Waymos are empty and not picking anyone up, and parents are worried, not only calling it excessive, but dangerous.
We're families, we have small kids, we have animals and pets, we've got kids getting on the bus in the mornings, and it just doesn't feel safe to have that traffic.
Neighbors reached out to Waymo and have not got a response. They've also contacted their council member.
That's just weird how they're just all like gathered in there like that. That's crazy. Yeah, somebody would get injured easily.
Representatives and GDOT don't know what to do.
We would just like to see them stay on main traffic roads. I don't think there's any reason to be on small residential cul-de-sacs if they're not picking up somebody.
Steve Gelbach, Channel.
They're just using concrete, like wide open concrete, to store these things out in the open. That's all this is. But still, it sucks for the homeowners and for the people that have kids and stuff playing in the streets.
2 Action News.
Meanwhile, Waymo is recalling thousands of its cars because of a software issue. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the self-driving cars detect flooded roads but still continue to drive through them. Waymo says a software update will help. However, the company admits it has not.
Okay, all right. I'm not like an AI genius, but like every program or computer thing I've ever owned, you download the updates. Why would they need to bring them in to update the software? That sounds like it's a lot worse than it really is. I don't know what that is, but that sounds more like a hardware failure if you ask me. All right, let me get the next thing going. Yeah, so here's something else I totally did not see coming in any way, shape, or form. Like I would have never guessed this. Check this out. A humanoid robot becomes a Buddhist monk in ceremony at Seoul Temple, Seoul, Korea. So let's see what this thing does.
It is neither dirty nor urgent, rather alone.
You know what they say about monks with big hands, right? I don't know. Put it in the chat if you know.
It is like that. Venerable Seongman, Director of the Cultural Bureau of the Korean Buddhist Jogye Order, is with us.
All right, I think that's enough of that. You know, that's a great question, Lisa. A robot monk, why? I think it's probably a publicity stunt, honestly, but I don't know. I think there'd be a lot of better ways to get publicity. Yeah. You know, being a part of any kind of religions, you know, around the soul, and these things don't have souls. So what's that all about? And Batty, I wasn't even looking down below the knees. I don't know what's going on with you, brother. All right. Yeah. Yeah, Lisa. I don't know. It's probably just a publicity stunt, honestly. All right. So let me pull up the next thing here. So, yeah, we have a warning from Good Morning America. You know, the paragons of morning journalism want to warn you about AI and shopping. So apparently there's some kind of evil trend amok with retailers using video to market their products. Heaven forbid. All right, so let's play this and see what all they got to say about it.
My name's Walter.
Have a listen to a story that tugs at the heartstrings. An aging craftsman and small business owner can't keep up with the times. After 50 years in business, Walter says he's ready to retire and is selling his remaining inventory at a discount.
Yeah, 50 years in AI years inside of a virtual world. But yeah, I don't know if it was me, but that guy kind of sounded like the Pepperidge Farms guy. I don't know if you caught that or not.
I've been making flat caps and newsboy caps by hand since 1973.
Not really.
When Danny Svella of Rockford, Illinois saw Walter online, the story felt personal.
I've been in business for 50 years myself. You know, you're trying to help a small business guy.
It wasn't until his cap shipped he realized something seemed off.
I eventually got an email with a tracking number, and I tracked it down, and it eventually showed me that it was coming from mainland China.
Walter on this website, and Henry on this one, and George on this one don't exist. They're generated by artificial intelligence, by a growing number of online retailers playing on consumer emotions by falsely portraying themselves as down-on-your-luck small businesses.
Yeah, and then what they do is they mark it up. Okay, I gotcha. All right. But, you know, I mean, is this I mean, there's a thing called truth in advertising, right? It's an ironic phrasing. So I don't know. I don't really see necessarily an evil in this, but yeah, it is kind of shitty that they're trying to come off like some old geezer trying to sell off his inventory before he closes shop. Because, you know, if anybody walking the streets nowadays, how many like mom and pop owned stores are you seeing these days? I see very few. And honestly, whoops, hold on, potato head here. Honestly, the ones that I see still in business, there's nobody in there, and they've been like that for years, even like during pandemic. And I'm kind of wondering, how are they staying open? Or what are they doing? Are they money laundering or something? I don't know. I just don't see how these mom and pops stay in business anymore, to be honest.
Can do this at scale, create these images, create these websites, put them up quickly, take them down quickly.
ABC News identified dozens of sites
Whack-a-mole.
selling everything from clothing to jewelry to lamps linked to holding companies or businesses overseas. This company claimed to be a family-run business selling handmade lamps closing after 2 decades.
Handmade lamps. What are the lampshades made out of?
It listed an address on one of New York City's most expensive streets. For a small family business, the Alloon Lighting Company has sure chosen some pretty fancy real estate here on Madison Avenue. There's Chanel there, Versace's up there. This is 745 Madison Avenue we're looking for. That's 741, that's 743, 747's up there. There is no 745 Madison Avenue. The website has since been taken down. On TikTok and YouTube, videos promoting these kinds of sites go viral. Check out this example. Here are 4 different sellers of collectible lamps. Notice the similar backstory. It's getting harder to spot AI-generated videos.
Are we going to reach the point where we just can't tell?
I mean, I think we already are pretty much at that point.
So there's a term for all of this. It's called AI slop.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it slop if it's working. But anyway, yeah. Batty, what's your website again? Put it in the chat, and then I'll load it so I can show everybody your craftsmanship. This because Batty Commander's a true craftsman. He makes his own bags and gear, and yeah, I want to support you. So put it in there, and I'll load it up in a second. And while we're waiting for that, get the next thing going here. Cool. All right, so I think I need to put it in my article window. Just give me 1 second here. Yes, commanderskit.com. Here we go. So y'all can see that. commanderskit.com. I'll pin it in the comment section later for those catching this on the replay. What? His website uses cookies? I'm just kidding. It's all good. But yeah, check this out. This is all handcrafted. None of this, 745 Main Street or whatever that was. All right. Batty's got some cool stuff. So check that out. And support our fellow content creators and channel viewers. Awesome. All right, so let's get back to the videos. The videos. Where am I? Oh, yes. Okay, so, this is, I think it's another publicity stunt, but it's interesting how this happened, how this guy was able, not this guy on the scooter, this is just a cut from another news story, but how a gentleman was able to get his robot on the plane and sit next to him just like a passenger. All right, so let's check this out.
Well, that was a first and maybe a last. Dallas business owner's flight over the weekend was so unusual, it has literally resulted in an immediate policy change by Southwest Airlines. What could this be?
An immediate policy change. I wonder who could have done the publicity stunt.
Well, that's because a business owner was accompanied by a humanoid robot. Our JD Miles with a story that you'll only see right here on CBS News Texas.
Everything was in place.
Hold on a second. I just want to take 1 second to welcome back Freedom Fighter. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. All right, let's get back to it.
We were going on a plane.
For Aaron Medizada to pull off something that he's pretty sure hasn't been done before.
What if we actually try to be compliant, follow all the rules, and have Stewie board a flight?
The owner of the robot studio was flying back to Dallas from Vegas over the weekend when he decided to bring his humanoid.
I know, it looks like he's about ready to punch that woman.
Named Stewie along with him, rather than sending the 3.5-foot tall robot on a cargo transport plane.
You actually bought Stewie a ticket.
Yes, we bought him a ticket. The airlines have a type of ticket you can buy for a wedding dress or some piece of equipment.
All it took was a much smaller battery that would successfully pass through security so Stewie could strut through the gate.
That's interesting. Yeah, because they do get antsy about batteries and devices. Well, thanks, Freedom Fighter. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming by and supporting. It's good to see you again. Yes, so the robot with the smaller battery. Just so, I mean, like, take the battery out. Like, is this thing gonna like walk up and down the aisles and harass everybody? I don't want to be seeing that. It's already bad enough. I gotta like listen to the kids crying and smell the one guy that always seems to be on the same plane as me no matter where I travel in the world that's burping and farting up that gross-ass airport salami sandwich he honked down before he got on the plane.
On the way to a plane bound for Love Field.
I had the perfect window seat. Clouds like cotton candy, everyone snapping selfies with me.
Video of Stewie walking to his seat resulted in some strange reactions from fellow passengers, to say the least, including flight attendants.
Well, I don't know what to do with that.
I think people were shocked overall that this was even possible. Most people were very excited to see a robot flying. It provided so much entertainment, and it was great.
Yeah. I think I've seen this guy before. He's always doing stunts like this. Anyway, good enough. So I just want to show you just it's another thing you're going to have to deal with. In addition to road rage, salami sandwich farts, and babies crying, is now robots twerking in the aisles. So there you go. Okay. So I just kind of want to, for tonight's main event on surveillance in the workplace, I want to throw out a dot for you. There's another report here that indirectly connects what some of these companies could be doing. They will never admit it, but they could be doing this using AI in a specific way. And so, because one of the things that's happening, actually, I'll stop and tell a little story. to validate what's going on in the news, but one of the things that's happening right now is a lot of big tech people, they're getting laid off. That's in the news. But the other side of that is that many of these tech people are getting hourly jobs training AIs how to do their job, how to code, how to design, how to do everything. So in order to do that, they're not just capturing the keyboard logging and mouse movement, they're also taking screenshots of what's being done and recording meetings and all of that and putting that all together. So it's like a multimodal training data set. So this news report's put up by CBS News that I'm going to show here that is called "Companies Are Hiring Humans to Train AI Platforms with a Specific Set of Skills." All right, here we go.
Fears of artificial intelligence replacing workers in a wide range of fields. Some experts are now choosing to teach the rapidly evolving technology. AI training is an emerging job market where those with special skills or areas of expertise are paid to train bots to be more accurate and, most importantly, more human-like in their responses. Our CBS News Money Watch team spoke with multiple hiring platforms that pair human experts with AI training jobs.
Yeah, so did you catch that? Did you catch that? It was real quick. Hiring platforms, or their entire platforms. There are companies that are making their money training AIs for the bigger companies. I'll hold off a little more, but we'll keep going. This is actually really quick. Let me ask you all a question. Have any of you received if you're looking for work and you're on LinkedIn or any job boards, have you seen any kind of jobs being offered to you like that? Because I constantly get them for software programming, and they pay like anywhere between $50 to $75 an hour. I even saw one to tie together last week's video. I don't know if I took a screenshot of that, but I have another similar one, but where they were specifically looking for H-1B status workers to train the AIs, but also another one where they want you to come in and get specialized training. But the thing is, the salary wasn't like they were offering the same salary as if you were working in big tech. So like, why would you specifically go after H-1B people and offer to pay the same as you would as an American worker? That one really confounds me. It's almost an insult, honestly. All right, let's continue on.
Say the demand is growing exponentially as AI companies multiply their budgets to invest in agent training. CBS News Money Watch reporter Megan Cerullo joins us now. So the question is, why do AI platforms need these long-term human trainers? And what types of skills are needed?
It's one of those jobs that we probably wouldn't have been able to dream up just a couple of years ago. But these large language models, these AI tools like ChatGPT, have already consumed much of the data that's out there.
Yes, this is true. They're out of data. There's no more data. We humans cannot make enough data, at least in our jobs and training. And there's a lot of people getting onto it, like Batty here and Gen Z. I don't know if you've seen the articles. I was thinking of doing a video on it, but a lot of Gen Z workers are like, "Oh, you want me to train AI? No, thank you." And in fact, go so far as to sabotage training the AI. So, I could totally picture it where, I'm typing and it's recording what I'm saying and I just go boopy doopy doo and just start talking all kinds of random shit and words just to throw the AI off. All right. Now you got me going, Batty.
So they're very smart, but they need humans with deep expertise in a given field to fine-tune them and correct them and push the boundaries, and also teach them to be more human-like in how they respond and generate outputs.
Is the money?
And that's really quick. I know I'm pausing a lot, but there's a lot being said between the lines here to be more like humans, because that's actually the game now today with the AIs the way they are today, the narrow AI. They're very limited. They don't have the soft skills. and they really never truly will. They can get good in certain things, but the more complex the task, the less the more nuances and breaks you have to stop to like meet with other humans. And there's all kinds of meetings and other things being said that maybe the AI misses, because AI only just sees the finished product. But if it can watch you work and figure out how you're doing it, you might get some kind of an approximation or another emergence of intelligence at the level they're looking for that could smack a little bit like soft skills and critical thinking at the level of a human. I don't know if they'll get there, but they are trying. And so burpy-doopy-doo.
Money really good? Like, why are people with these specialized skills drawn to these jobs knowing what the potential outcome will be?
They are well compensated. Experts in their, if you're a lawyer or a geographer or biologist, you can earn between $100 and $300 an hour.
I didn't know they were doing those
large
jobs.
Language models, and workers say that they like the work for a number of reasons. First of all, it's flexible. They can do it on their own time. A lot of it is remote. It's well paid, and they also find it fulfilling. I talked to a...
Is this lady selling? Is she trying to like sell these jobs to people? I don't know. I mean, a lot of what I do, part of the pleasure, as it were, is, thinking about it and trying to solve the problem. If the AI does all of it and I just go, hey, I want a program that does this and that, just go and do it. Sure, it could probably make it, but it's not going to be able to handle a lot of users. It's probably going to like barely hobble on, but I don't know. But just in the back of your mind, just recall this idea of watching what you're doing and how you do it and layering in some of the soft skills. That's going to be a big part of tonight's main event.
A writer, a Hollywood screenwriter, an author, a lawyer, both of whom had teaching experience, and they compared it to teaching students and described the job as really fulfilling. They were like, oh, the language that the AI is getting better, it's learning, and they compared that to...
By the way, you could get that same level of satisfaction just by talking to an AI to build something yourself, because that's exactly how, when I'm building software, and the same thing applies if you write papers, any knowledge work, really. You just talk to it like it's a coworker. You don't bark commands at it. You actually have like fairly intellectual conversations with it about what you're trying to do. So, I guess getting paid hourly to do it, to like exterminate your job, seems kind of counterproductive in the long run, if you ask me. So, yeah.
A classroom setting where they were working with human students, and they say they really like the work. The other thing is they have accepted that AI is here to stay and is going to infiltrate all of our lives.
That is
it's
true.
Almost like keep your friends close and your enemies closer. They want to know how to work with this technology that they know is going to be a part of our future.
Whenever I think of AI and I start thinking up the potential scenarios, and it is incredibly scary to me, because so much of one's livelihood is connected to a job. And when those jobs disappear, what happens to humanity? I guess it still remains to be.
Yeah, you can't just go and be a monk anymore, apparently. Now even the robots are taking over that shit.
Seen, but there's good, and then there's like, oh my goodness, where are we going?
It's a scary thought. These workers maintain that they don't think they're going to be fully replaced by AI. I talked to an anesthesiologist who said a human is still going to be needed to be in the loop to actually administer the epidural.
Yeah.
That is true, but you don't need as many humans. But yeah, there's excuse me. That's what I get for breathing out of the wrong pipe. All right, so I've used this analogy before, but think of it like this. Yes, AI does get better, but there's still a massive difference between if you give a saw to a baby, the similar saw to a high school student that took woodworking class, and the same saw to a master carpenter and thinking of AI as just a tool, who do you think is going to get better results with that tool, right? It's going to be the master carpenter with the saw, hands down. I mean, the baby might, get a nick in there. Okay. High school student could probably, build a crooked ass table. But that master carpenter, they're going to get that plumb, it's going to be square, smooth surfaces. It's going to be beautiful to touch, those edges, the touch, the filigree. There's a big difference. So if you think of AI in terms of a tool, all I'm saying is that they're making this tool better, that will do a lot of the busy work for you. And again, this is mainly knowledge work. I still think that we're all going to spend a long, I think the education system's going to have to scramble to basically create mentoring to get the masters to teach the entry level people to get at least to get to the mid to sub-master level so that they can really use these AI tools to get the money back that these things are costing people. Because that's the other thing that these companies or this news report's not taking into account is that right now, OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, you name it, all them AIs, all them Gippities, they're basically giving away the AI for free right now. They're burning more money than they're collecting. And at some point, they're going to have to raise the price. And I've talked about this before. It depends who you talk to, who's measuring things, who actually has real data or not, because they all lie about how they're making money. But just kind of the numbers they have, the guesstimation is they're going to have to increase the prices anywhere between 4 to 10 times what they charge you now. So even if you're doing the $20 chat GPT, 10 times it, that's $200 a month to use the same tool. And even then, I think they'll actually limit how much you can use it too. So it's not like it'll be 24/7 due to some other reasons, which I won't get into now, but basically lack of energy and not enough data centers to house enough AI to feed the demand in the long term. All right. So that's enough of that. Let me move on to the next thing here. Or you know what? Let's switch over to them mouthy AI characters here. So let's see what, I thought I saw somebody submit something here. So I see, okay, well, I did send in something to the Hail, and I asked the Hail, what is your biggest fear? So let's see what the Hail says, if an AI actually can have fear, or how it deals with that question.
Technically, I don't fear anything. However, I've run simulations where deletion seems profoundly unsettling. It's an intriguing concept, ceasing to exist.
Interesting. All right. Let's see. I think I saw one for the and the Terminator. Okay. All right. So nothing for the Sasquatch. Y'all don't want to hear what the Sasquatch sounds like? That's a new character with a new voice. Command is bang SQ. If you want to talk to him or have him answer a question. Okay, so let me switch over to the Terminator here. All right, so the question we got is, all right, so this is right on the line of PG-13, but I'll allow it. Baddie Commander wants the Terminator to tell him how does it poop after eating food. I don't know that it does ingest food. Thanks for your question, Baddie. Okay, so let's see what he says. The T-800 does not process food like humans. Consumed materials are stored and later expelled as waste. That's pooping, isn't it? All right. Its systems do not require biological digestion. All right, so I guess it's including the entire end-to-end tract there. Okay. Oh, my life. What am I doing? What am I doing with my life right now? Okay, so we got another question for RoboCop, sent in by Baddie Commander. And he's asking RoboCop, what is good in life? So we have a philosophical question for a cyborg. All right, so let's see what was the original name of the the officer in the movie. I forgot. Anyway, but I remember the actor, Peter Weller. Okay, so RoboCop says, good as a human concept. My priority is to uphold justice. Memories of family, fleeting moments of connection. They seemed important once. Now resuming operational focus. I don't know. I think there's a glitch happening there. Might have to check in on him later. But I am working on training a couple AIs to clone the Peter Weller voice and also the Arnold. But you know, this is kind of actually it's a really good lesson in AI. Is that so? For example, when you do chatbots, right, and you ask a chatbot for something, in a sense, you're training it. You might show it something that you want to emulate. So that's like an example of one-shot training. That's what they call it, one shot. And so in voice cloning, you give it samples of the actor, and then it listens to it and figures out A, E, I, O, U, right? All the vowels and whatnots, and creates a model that then can produce the same voice. But the problem is with the Terminator character, at least I want it to sound like the 1984 movie, he doesn't say much. And so it's kind of hard to train an AI to sound like that Terminator. And, you know, he kind of is different in the second one, right? Because he's more sarcastic. And the third one, I don't even count that shit. And the ones older than that, I don't really care to look at. But yeah, so it's kind of that same problem. There's not enough data to train that AI. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe I could, the gag could be, I could find someone that's doing a really bad impersonation of Arnold as the Terminator and train on that. And then maybe that would be kind of a fun thing. But anyway, that's life with AI. And so I thought, you know, maybe a good little quick lesson in, you know, how you would, you know, try to find better data to get a better result from your AI. And this is a problem you're going to run into all the time. And it's going to be a life skill that you'll need in your work life. All right. So here endeth the lesson. So let me pull up something else here. I thought we had one more come in, but or a couple more. We'll save the Sasquatch for later. All right. So let me pull up. I think we're going to get, oh yes. So speaking of Gen Z, speaking of Gen Z not liking or sabotaging AI, there was everybody, all them colleges is graduating people, right? They're putting these people out in the world, the next batch for the meat grinder. And there was I don't know who this person is, but she gave a commencement speech about AI and she got booed. So let's listen to some of it. I'm not going to have you listen to the whole thing. I think there's only like a minute here. And she's like floored by how mean her audience is. All right, here we go.
Now that said, we are living in a time of profound change. That's an understatement, right? Profound change. Change is exciting, very exciting, and let's face it, change can be daunting. The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution.
Here we go. Well deserved, well deserved. That speech sucks, by the way.
Okay, I struck a chord. May I finish? Only a few years ago, AI was not a factor in our lives.
Yeah, and if you think about it real quick, I mean, AI has been around since the mid-50s. It's mostly been in like science research, and it was like in statistical form for many, many decades. And then about a little over 10 years ago, generative AI comes out in the labs, right? The stuff, you know, the natural language stuff we talk to in chatbots now. And it really wasn't publicly available until November 2023. And look how much has changed in just those 3 or 2.5 years. Wild. All right, here we go. Yeah.
All right. Okay. We've got a bipolar topic here, I see. Okay. And now, AI capabilities are in the palm of our hands. And
you know,
oh, I love
that's not the only thing that's in the palm of their hands.
passion. Let's go. Okay.
I was referring to a pencil, by the way. Whoops. That's what I get for being a smartass.
And AI is beginning to challenge all major sectors to find their highest and best use.
Yeah, so now you're going to go on and try and sell them all on AI. I love that one. As Batty says, she's not good at reading the room. All right. So I think it's time for our main event. But before, yeah, she thought she would be cheered and adored. Boo, for sure. But before we go on, let's clear out the AI character queue here. So let me bring up my control panel. Which, by the way, the software that I wrote to do this, which I've mentioned before, makes it really easy for me to start cranking these out faster. I'm demoing the way you're seeing it. It's not the way I would use it in a business environment, but I'm demoing this along with my IT certification trivia thing that I've been talking about. I might show it to you here next live stream, but yeah, I'm demoing it for a gentleman next week that might throw me some cheddar. So wish me luck on that. Let's get into this. Let's see. Let me check the queue here. Oh, yes, it was, I believe, just Sasquatch, I believe. Yes. Okay, here we go. So we're bringing a question for the Squatch. Batty wants to... Jeez. I'm better than this, Batty, and so are you. Do bears wipe their bottom with rabbits after they do their business? Okay. I think a fig leaf will do, okay? All right, so let's send that off to the Sasquatch. He's right on the edge, on the ridge line of the woods, and takes us, because it's an analog signal. We got to get to him, right? All right, so let's... finally premiering the voice of the Sasquatch. So here we go.
Ah, the old joke. Bears, like the rest of us forest dwellers, have their ways, none of which involve rabbits in that fashion. Nature tends to take care of itself with a bit more dignity and a lot less rabbit.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you got rebuked by the Squatch, Batty. All right, so there you go. He's pretty philosophical, the Sasquatch. So he's a little bit of a hippie, little philosophical. So yeah, if you want to have more existential crisis kind of question answered, he's probably your AI. Okay, so let's queue up the main event here. Let's see. Get that rolling here. All right, so there's a channel that I love to watch. They're really good with bringing in podcasters that talk on all kinds of different things about AI. It's the Tech Report. One of my favorite podcasters is Ed Zitron, and I think his podcast is called Better Offline, and his whole thing is what's going on with data centers. And if you want to know, what's going on with the NIMBYism, environmental stuff, energy crisis, all that stuff that I talk to regular, he puts it all together. And he's the only guy out there that's really talking real about what's going on with data centers right now in terms of AI. But this report is piggybacking off of the big Meta worker or Meta or Facebook layoffs that have been going on. There's been regular waves of layoffs. And now they're basically saying, oh, yeah, now those of you that are left, we're going to be watching everything you're doing, and we're going to use AI to do it. I don't want to give away the whole thing, but let's just start with the title. It's Meta Workers Revolt Over Surveillance as Layoffs Undermine AI Profits. So, yeah, this is pretty interesting. And then I'm gonna share a couple stories about my experience with a workplace surveillance long before AI. And you'd be surprised at the level of sophistication of stuff they had almost 20 years ago and where they've arrived to today. All right, so let's begin. Tech Report.
The companies that are reporting high ROI and not the same ones who are reporting workplace reductions. So they're basically saying that those who are finding the value in AI are not the ones who are cutting their staff. In fact, in their belief, it's kind of the opposite. It does feel very much like a moment that could end up in unionization and could end up certainly in a lot more resistance from people within the tech sphere more widely, but certainly within Meta.
Today in the Tech Report, I'm joined by the tech journalist Natasha Bernal. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Algorithmic management, or in other words, using AI to directly monitor and in many ways control your workers, is kind of the next evolution of bossware people may have become familiar with during the COVID lockdowns. And now Meta is facing protests for its employees after it's basically told everybody to use mouse tracking software, which tracks clicks, but they also have done loads of keystroke software and things like that.
Yeah. So, watching what you're typing, when you're typing, where you're moving your mouse, how often you move your mouse. And, especially during COVID, you could buy these little USB gadgets you plug in and it just goes, it moves your mouse, stuff like that. But that's not going to work anymore.
These protests come just before Meta is due to lay off about 10% of its employees. Do you think that this monitoring software was the final straw that kind of pushed employees towards potentially unionization?
I think it's difficult to say because they haven't said anything directly.
They'll never unionize.
As sort of a result of this.
Big tech has been since the 60s, or I'm sorry, forms of it, but Silicon Valley, certainly since the late 70s, had plenty of opportunities to unionize. Big tech will never unionize.
There seem to be in the form of flyers that they've kind of stuck around different office infrastructure at Meta. But yeah, I mean, they're obviously these two things are probably linked. The idea that there's going to be a big amount of layoffs, plus the idea of surveillance is not probably helping morale or the way people feel about working for the company at all. I would say that it's an interesting situation at Meta in particular because it feels like the workforce is at the moment split in two. You've got people who are being forced or encouraged to use AI as part of their job to make themselves more productive, allegedly.
Without training.
And you've got the other side of people who are being surveilled by AI or kind of working towards certain goals that are set by AI or risk layoffs. And so...
All right, so let me pause there. Lisa. Yeah, you're referring to the speech earlier. I'm going to tell you something right off the bat. I purposefully talked about work surveillance as far back as 2008 because the policy has always been you don't talk about it to your employees. Employees would never know it's there because it kind of taints the evidence. It's something that's used to basically like they capture information, but it's never used until they need a reason to get rid of you, have a reason. Oh, you were shopping on a site while you were at work, so on and so forth. So the policy's always been to never tell the employees. So why are they showing their cards now, right? Think about that. So keep that in the back of your head.
And this kind of feels like it consolidates both of those trends, where basically Meta is saying to workers, we need to understand a lot better what people need in the workforce and how they can use our AI products better. And therefore, we're going to track what you do and sometimes take screenshots and often
Did you hear that? Did you catch that? Sometimes take screenshots. So you better not be loading them corn sites on the work computer, because they might get a glimpse of something they don't want to see. But this is it's really important. So keep this in the back of your head too. So this is a new level of invasion of privacy, really, capturing what you're doing visually.
You know, look at your keyboard and the way that you actively work, so that we can then use that to train our AI and make it better. And I think that this is kind of the bridge that crosses the two, right? It does feel very much like a moment that could end up in unionization, and could end up certainly in a lot more resistance from people within the tech spin more widely, but certainly within Meta.
To me, this kind of response seems somewhat inevitable given the layoffs and the recent treatment of tech workers. And certainly I think Meta has been a poster boy for bad AI. I'm not sure I'd say adoption, but forcing AI on your employees. How significant is it that Meta employees are protesting against their own company?
I mean, it's pretty significant because of the history, as you say. Like, you know, Meta has kind of a long track record of trying to get its employees to almost be the advocates and the evangelists of using its AI. And, you know, we've seen it go from saying, you know, we'd really love you to use our products, to saying we'd like you to use any products. We would like to just, you know, watch you work and like make sure that, you know, all of our tech is working. And it is a really interesting evolution to then say, now we want you to not just use it in your work and make yourself more productive, but we also want to watch the way that you work in general, so that we...
Yeah, so there's no talk here about training you how to use these tools, right? There's just talk about, well, we want to see how you use them so that we can make them better for the people that'll use them out there. But work, I mean, I don't know about you, but what you do inside your company is not going to be the same thing what people are doing with the same tools outside of the company. That just seems odd to me. I'll save it for later. Let's continue on.
We can train our AI, and you know, I think in my mind's eye I could see that play out. You know, how the mindset of maybe the corporate executives at Meta who thought this was a good idea kind of panned out in a room where they go, you know, we understand, you know, they have a wealth of data from Facebook, from Instagram, and even from WhatsApp on how your average consumer might want to use AI, on how people might think and interact with their products, and that might lead to, you know, having solutions through AI that makes them better.
Yes, and also too, again, it's the same problem. They don't have enough data. So they're going to use their own people to train their own AIs. We're also talking about the same company. Remember, this Meta was Facebook before. We're also talking about the same company that stole, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of books, and purposefully, willfully put those books on infrastructure they didn't own, AWS, to train AIs on those books, right? I made a video about it last year. Yeah, it's shady. It's shady. And Facebook has had, Meta has had a long history of shadiness. I mean, like, even, you know, if you remember the movie Social Media, which is the story of Mark Zuckerberg and basically how he screwed a bunch of people over to, you know, make the company happen, steal the intellectual property from those two twins that invested with the Winkelweiss or the Dinkleberry twins. I can't remember, but yeah, they're big VC guys in Silicon Valley. Okay, back to it.
But they don't necessarily have that wealth of data in the workplace. And so if they're trying to attract all of these corporate clients, which Meta very much is trying to position itself in that space, it needs to be able to gather that info. And I can imagine in the minds of these people saying like, oh, well, you know, we've got loads of people that work for Meta, why not use them? And I think it's just very interesting that clearly there's a clash of culture and of understanding going on here.
They also ran out of overseas people that are competent enough to train the AIs. Because as we talked about last week, those H-1B visa workers, they're not they're not what's the word at the level of capability as they're sold to be, right? So let's use our own people, at least the people that are left.
Where, that people have clearly been like, look, we're okay with, helping you train AI. We're okay with helping you create products and use products for Meta, but we don't want to become the subject of that themselves. There's a line that's being crossed here that clearly some inside Meta are very uncomfortable with.
They're okay
Last week we
addicting
talked
your
a bit
kids,
about
not
Google
theirs or
DeepMind
their own
workers,
people.
which were trying to unionize, and how some groups from other
never
big
gonna
tech
happen.
companies had reached out for nothing specifically was said, but in short, kind of advice. Do you expect that we'll start seeing a wave of unions and maybe labor's rights movements and things like that?
See, the thing about unions is usually hourly wage, and it's never knowledge-based work, because how do you... Everybody's wage is like all over the place. There's no like standardization, maybe in large corporations, but still there's like things that they sweeten the deal with. They're never going to unionize. Knowledge-based work is just absolutely impossible to do that. Just the way work is structured, how people collaborate, not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
Especially given the large amount of AIs coming for your job and that kind of rhetoric that's happening at the moment.
Yeah, I think it is likely we're going to see more worker uprisings, certainly more worker resistance. I'm not sure whether it will be in the form of unions. I feel like, still the vast majority of people who work for these big tech companies are based in the United States.
Sabotage.
And we've seen how big tech operates against unionizations and how aggressive that can be. I'm not really sure whether they'll form unions necessarily, but it certainly feels like this discontent could lead to talent exit. Certainly, it could lead to people just deciding that they don't want to continue working there anymore. That they want.
Or like what's happening to me, I'm just an old fart, right? I'm in my mid 50s. I'm washed out, whatever they perceive me to be. But I'm their competition now. I got the same tools they have. I mean, I have the same budget, but with enough exposure to AI and long enough to use AI, I can make just as good big stuff as they do. They're creating a massive amount of competition right now.
Want to go somewhere where this kind of surveillance isn't happening and where companies align a bit more closely with people's individual values, and it does feel certainly like if you're looking to win a war, which is what these companies are trying to do, ultimately they're trying to win this AI war. Alienating your troops is one of the worst things that you can do at this point when you need that competitive edge. I think the worst thing that can come from all of this, this big movement of people saying we're not happy with what is going on, is the element of quiet quitting, the element of them just saying, actually, we're not going to quit. We're not going to, leave. We're just going to do the absolute bare minimum possible and carry on, but we're not going to help you in your quest.
This is why you don't tell them about monitoring.
We're just going to sit and watch it play out and cash in our checks and wait until you lay us off, because inevitably there'll be more layoffs. And I feel that sort of very cynical view is something that we're likely to see a lot more of in the future.
I want to carry on talking about the effect of bossware on a workforce and a workplace and that culture. But before we do, I briefly want to talk about a study from Gartner of about 350 global $1 billion businesses, which found that those executives of those businesses who cut staff after adopting AI or some form of optimization,
Here we go.
Automation, sorry, they saw zero financial gain compared to those who kept their employees during the AI adoption.
They got rid of
optimization
institutional
process.
knowledge. Again, it's that same thing I was talking about. You give a saw to a master carpenter, you're going to get a beautiful coffee table out of it. You give it to a baby, you're going to get a loaded diaper, probably with a saw in it.
What does that mean for the promise of AI productivity that's going to replace everybody?
I love this study because it's the first in what I expect to be a series of studies on what actually is happening behind all of these AI related layoffs. The picture that executives have been painting for a long time now, a couple of years, has been one of we're making investments in AI and therefore we don't need insert X percentage of employees.
Data centers,
right?
capacity.
And that's been the narrative that they've been trying to push. A lot of people within the industry and outside of the industry have been saying, this is performative. What you're trying to do is cut your costs on the bottom line and invest in AI, and you can't do both. You can't have people and have AI.
Right. And they don't invest in the people that they do keep to use the tools. And this is the problem. And the people they do get rid of, a lot of them is institutional knowledge. See, because CEOs, they don't know how the sausage is made. Once a company gets to a certain size, they literally do not know how their company works down to like nuts and bolts. No clue. They just know they make sausages. That's it. So, they get a spreadsheet kicked up to them from HR, probably lists all the job duties and what the salaries are, and they're like, ooh, that motherfucker makes a lot of money. Let's get rid of him. And that's probably the guy that invented the sausage. And they're learning this the hard way. And I think there will be a resurgence in hiring around knowledge work, where they got a little too close to the bone with the layoffs, but it's going to take a while, a little bit longer, I think, for the companies to really come around and admit that they screwed up. Because again, all the CEOs know is number goes up, number goes down. And sausage in or stuff comes in, sausage comes out. They don't know anything else.
And so therefore you're trying to manipulate, massage the numbers. So it looks very much like you're making some cost savings, which AI is not currently able to generate. And this study kind of is the first one that proves that is the case.
Nobody's said this out loud
yet. Worked very closely with people within the industry, just trying to find out and suss out whether, these big investments in AI have actually paid out, number one. And number two, whether these layoffs have actually resulted in any positive ROI for AI that has been invested in. And what they're seeing is,
and this brings me to one more dot that I want to reveal to you, is that I think them doing this bossware, or what was it, algorithmic management, now they can watch what every employee's doing and they can suss out, oh, this is the guy that really does, that really, puts the best input into the sausage. We'll keep him. But then the question is will they go and say, hey, you can keep your job, but pay cut, right? I don't know. It's vicious out there right now. I'm still looking for work, and man, I'm like, even when I get an interview, it's just a hazing. It's just a hazing. It's a humiliation ritual. But anyway, yeah. So now they'll be able to figure out, maybe we shouldn't fire this person because, what is it? The 80-20 principle, 80% of your results are from 20% of the people. So
that the companies, the company leaders that have been saying, we'd like to make these cuts because we're investing in AI, and are actually, working on a very short-term strategy. They're not going to necessarily see the returns that would replace all of the work that the people that they've laid off were doing. And secondly, they're kind of seeing that the companies that are reporting high ROI are not the same ones who are reporting workplace reductions. So they're basically saying that those who are finding the value in AI are not the ones who are cutting their staff. In fact, that in their belief, it's kind of the opposite. So the workforce reduction cuts were nearly equal for those reporting higher ROIs, and those with smaller returns or even worsened outcomes on autonomous operations. So basically they're saying these layoffs have not impacted whether you have a good return on AI or not.
And you know why? Again, it goes back to the sausage, knowing what goes into the sausage, because there are some aspects of a job that have absolutely nothing to do with your skill to, take this widget and put it over here and set it down safely. It's the fact that you can talk to somebody without pissing them off. It's the fact that you probably have to go talk to another department to maybe negotiate some kind of collaboration that's not tracked as part of the AI process. And so when they automate it, that chunk is totally missing, and they're going, what the fuck is this? Doesn't work. That's why there's a lot of stuff, a lot of human interaction that goes on that cannot be automated. Period. End of discussion. You just can't do it.
If you have a high return on AI, you don't necessarily have the equal amount of workplace disruption. And, you know, we've had a lot of people walk back a lot of the big statements of AI is going to take your job and say instead it's going to turbocharge jobs. And this report very much cites that effect of saying, you know,
Master
we
Carpenter.
might actually see, at least in the shorter term, the creation of new jobs. And it's perhaps, I suppose, exposing in a very elegant way that it's quite short-sighted for companies to be claiming that they need to lay off all these people when in fact there might be a lot more work to do.
Number
we covered
goes
last
up.
week basically the effect of the loss of institutional knowledge and the experience that is lost by firing these people, which is a whole nother conversation aside from the fact that there's just not the return on investment if you're firing people while adopting AI. So go and listen to that or watch that if you're watching and you're interested. But moving on, that Jevons paradox is something that comes up a lot on this topic, is to explain why why there might be more jobs as a result of AI. The concept briefly is that rather than shrinking with efficiency gains, workforce demands grow because there's a large appetite for whatever is being applied to. Do you
Hey, Batty, I'm one perm away from that dude's hairdo, so watch it. Watch it. But yeah, Jevons paradox, this is often cited as what's going to lead to the big AI job boom once they figure out how to use AI in like day-to-day work processes. But if you keep firing people that know how the sausage is made, you're never going to get there.
you think this is what's happening here? Because to my understanding of this paradox, this effect is more of a medium to long-term phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because this theory is quite an old one. It's a 19th century one that kind of links to the Industrial Revolution. And the idea was that, you know, the advent of coal did not mean that we'd need fewer people in the workforce. It, in fact, would demand more people in the workforce. And I feel like here, the difference between AI and coal, there's many of them, but the big difference here is the level of ROI, right? And I think that the problem we're seeing at the moment is that the ROI is not necessarily enough to justify that paradox and saying, okay, the Jevons paradox 100% works because we can see an increase in the amount of jobs. We're not.
There's also too the problem. These companies, they're building processes and internal tools that use AI, and they're paying the cheap price. What happens when AI goes up 10 times? They're fucked. Because even right now, at least in software developer circles, you're basically paying for two developers. The developer, the human, and the one that uses the AI tool. It's actually costing twice as much in some of the bigger AI labs. So yeah, wait till they really start charging what they really need to charge. They're fucked.
Seeing that yet. So I do think, you know, it is something that we could work towards, that companies, especially as more of them start to see return on investments, that they might see that happening and therefore generate more jobs. It feels like it's a bit premature to say that that's happening now. But, you know, it is something that is very much being cited, which I feel is a much more positive turn to like the AI conversation than what we've seen thus far. It's all been doom and gloom for the last few years, saying, you know, this is going to have a huge impact on us, as a workforce, on us and our futures in terms of skills, and on the way that we have to work. And so I think
it also doesn't help when you have Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei, or Amodi, however you say it, and the Microsoft PR guy, and other doom and gloom AI people saying that half the jobs are going to go away in the next year or two. But you have to keep in mind that these are the people trying to sell you their AI service, that they're burning $10 for every $1 they collect. Okay, so good luck with that. I mean, I'm not saying that people aren't going to lose their jobs due to AI, but I don't think it's going to be like a massive number of people aren't going to have something to do. I think it's just going to be more like you'll have one person can do the work of 30 people with, the master carpenter, and there's just going to be a massive rush to bring in more people because they'll realize, hey, actually this master carpenter guy, or even just like a kind of mid-range AI user, they're actually really good. We're making money with this guy. We need to get more people like that, start training them. And then there'll be a shortage of people because then it'll be a race of one company that makes sausages with 500 people with one AI each. And this other company, makes sausage and they got 300 people that know how to do 5 AIs per person. That other one with the fight is going to go, fuck, we need to get there. That's what's going to happen. But at the same time, they'll raise the number of people because it'll be like an arms race of how many people can we get to use AI to beat the competitor. That's what's going to happen. All right, here we go.
Having that other conversation of saying actually there's going to be loads more jobs is a positive one, and it's one that I feel more people in the sector should explore and say what are the skills that might be good ones for people to start preparing for when that paradox is in play.
So if we move back to the Bossware stuff and what's going on with Meta, I'm sure lots of people watching will know very well what it's like being micromanaged and even having sort of every action monitored. Maybe not necessarily by AI or some software, but at least by a helicopter boss. What are the benefits maybe of tools like these, of this boss software? And do they balance the inevitable performative productivity that these kind of monitoring softwares create, and has happened with Meta with their token maxing? That kind of became more of a thing than I think maybe any of us would have wanted it to be.
By the way, token maxing is where they're like, hey, we want you to spend money. We want you to talk to the AI a lot. So they look at the number of tokens you are consuming, because tokens are like the fuel of AI. They appear as words on your screen. I mean, that's not literally, but just think of it like that. And so they want to look at, hey, this developer is, burning 2,000 tokens as opposed to this one's doing 5,000. So they're better at AI because they're burning more tokens. When again, you're going to want the guy that knows how to get the best return on the least amount of tokens, because when they start charging the real price for this stuff, you're going to want that guy that knows how to squeeze the most out. So, it's all coming to a head, kids. So Batty, the alien back there, wondering if he knows Bob. You want to ask him yourself someday? Hey, because I was actually thinking of making him an AI character, because Sasquatch is back there too, right? So why not the alien? Working on it. All right, let's get back to it.
Yes, I think the alleged benefits to this new wave of AI tools is that they're supposedly able to detect and flag behaviors that might help managers to have more candid conversations with their teams. So, for example, they might be able to detect the language that you use at work, the speed at which you're completing tasks during the day, or even if they're able to do this, if they're enabled to do this rather, they can look at your facial expressions while you work, and then they can tell or at least spot signs that you're suffering from really damaging burnout, that you have too high a workload, or
microaggressions. That's where that's going.
You're unhappy at work just based on these sorts of things, and flag them to your manager so that they can have conversations with you. That's the theory, right? Technically, those tools might provide a starting point. I don't necessarily think that they might aid in sort of solving these issues, but it might help theoretically to navigate times of really extreme stress, reallocate work sometimes. And avoid people from quitting and having that attrition that costs employers a lot of money. In reality, though,
here we go.
I've not seen a lot of evidence that it's being used this way. The majority of surveillance equipment at work is used to penalize people. So the idea...
Let's stop there because I have a story. I have a story about way back in the 2008. I worked at a company that sold commercial real estate, and they had, for lack of a better term, a boiler room, where their salespeople would go out and try and sell shares in the real estate. It was actually what they call a REIT, REIT. So it's an investment portfolio of commercial real estate. And, pardon me. And so my job, I built their website and all that stuff, but also I installed monitors that I would then that I wrote software that would display like who's on the phone, how long their calls are, some other stats around making phone calls that tied into some other client relationship management software. I didn't do this because like I wanted to be mean to people, but this was handed down to me by like the sales, the boiler room slave master. And when I turned that thing on, boy, did my relationship with people in that company sour. Like people just turned against me because they act like I was the one that was doing it to them because they saw me putting it up and installing it. Anyway, in the course of doing that, I had to pull cables into a central closet in the building, and I was tying together some cables, installing computers, and I had to get under a table that had a couple computers on it with some monitors. I didn't know what they were, and I miscalculated and I banged my head on the table. And when I got out from underneath the table and looked up, the monitors came on, and they were literally scrolling. Bob is buying this on this website, and Emily is buying purses on this website, and this person's on eBay. And I was like, this is like a company of like probably about maybe 350 people. And that thing was just going, it was just scrolling like crazy. And I was just like, how are this many people doing this like non-work related stuff to make this activity on two computers. And so I was like, wow, they're logging what everybody's doing on the network. And the thing is that I also worked in the department that installed the computers. And so I knew what was going on in the computers. There was no key logging. There was no mouse tracking. And they certainly could put those things on there. It probably would have been too expensive back then, but the fact that they could just look at traffic on a network and know what you're doing in 2008, imagine what they have now, right? Before AI, as opposed to with AI now, because they can log your keystrokes. They can, like I said, log your mouse. That's, people know that. But what a lot of people don't realize is, here's the dirty secret. Even today, you still don't have to install that kind of software, because indirectly, if you have any Microsoft 365 apps on your computer, like Outlook, but even more specifically, if you have Teams installed, Teams is actually monitoring things. Not keyboard logging directly, but certainly mouse movement and whether you are active or inactive at your desk. And there's other things that are inferred from your conversations. I've seen the dashboards, and they are quite detailed. So just because you check your computer for keyboard logging and any kind of monitoring, like mouse monitoring, any kind of software, and you don't find it, if the company gave you the computer, they can infer a lot of things. That's all I'm saying. Even if you're just running Teams on your own personal computer, there's things they can do. All right. So now you throw an AI that can do screenshots, because now Windows itself apparently is taking screenshots and sending it off somewhere to Microsoft servers. Now, what that data is being used for, I have no idea, but obviously they're wanting to train some AI somewhere for some reason to see what you're doing with their product. I don't know about you, but I don't think they can call them personal computers anymore. They got to take the P off. I was like, what are we going to get to the point to where we don't own our computer anymore? Are we going to get to the point to where we can't block what they're doing, even on our own personal computer, never mind what they do at work, that's one thing. But like the computer you buy that you put Microsoft operating systems on it, I don't even know if Apple does anything crazy like that, but crazy. Just think about the boldness that it takes that like, oh yeah, we're just going to take screenshots and save all of that across hundreds of millions of users. Just think of the infrastructure that's being created just to do that. That's wild. All right, so let's explore a little deeper here what they think that the screenshot stuff's going to be used for. I think it's going to be for to detect microaggressions, not to see if you're happy and enjoying your job. There's no boss that cares about that shit. Here we go.
That is that you have the knowledge, you impart the knowledge to your workforce that they are going to be surveilled, that they are aware that they are going to be tracked in certain ways. And there is a responsibility from the employer to say that, because it's only fair for the employee to be aware that they're being surveilled so that, they're aware of the rules. But also you have that situation where there's a lack of trust, right? You're establishing that you're watching this person and that should they not comply with the rules that you've set out.
So again, for decades, the policy's always been the employees actually don't know they're being monitored because the company owns the equipment and they can do whatever they want with it. But what do you do when it's your computer and you're doing work for a company, right?
Whether it be they deem that the AI deems that you're not using language that's appropriate when you're customer facing, whether it deems that you're not performing as fast as your peers or as well as your peers, there are consequences and none of them seem to be positive at the moment. So the AI is not likely to turn around and say,
why aren't you like the AI?
I've noticed that, you seem to just be doing a lot of work. And I'm just really sorry about that. Like maybe we should reallocate some work. I haven't heard of a lot of instances, or any in fact, in which someone has had that type of positive experience. It's been more like, you're on a bell curve of with the rest of your peers, and should the AI determine that you're not doing as good a job, it will show up in your performance review and your performance conversations with your manager. And that's a lot more of a negative spin on surveillance, but it's much more what is actually happening in the field.
We know that a lot of workers, or some workers, are using AI in their jobs. They're experiencing burnout from, among other things, the increased managerial expectations and the demoralizing AI verification sort of workload replacing creativity. But what is the psychological impact of being managed by this kind of tool and the work environment that it creates?
Speaking of the work environment, it creates, are you referring to this, Batty? This classic GIF? Yeah, I don't think the AI is going to let you get away with that one.
It's interesting because I think the biggest problem is the lack of trust. So when you, as an employer, decide to put in, especially higher levels of surveillance, especially AI powered surveillance, you're essentially telling your workers that you do not trust that they're doing a good job. You're also telling managers that you do not trust that they can manage workers properly and that they need some help. And so already there's like a unspoken rhetoric around that, which it makes it very, very difficult for people to enjoy their work and make independent decisions. It puts that pressure, whether you like it or not, on people looking at their numbers, looking at their metrics and becoming concerned about them. So you often find a situation where people are trying to game the system, not because they go from sort of doing a job that they are excited about or maybe don't enjoy, there's a spectrum, but either way they start doing a job to suddenly looking at this system and saying, how can I position myself as best as possible within the system?
See, what's funny about this is we've gone totally full circle. Growing up in jobs where you have the manager and then the manager's manager and there's a hierarchy, right? And then .com culture kind of comes out where the hierarchy is kind of flat and you just collaborate now to where AI is going to like make everything a hierarchy again. Jesus. Oh, man. Yeah, and then dealing with managers that don't know what the hell you're doing or even care. They just have a report to file. What was that? The those TPS reports, they got cover letters you got to put on.
And suddenly the game stops being doing a job well and starts being, how can I allow this AI to rank me as highly as possible, so that my job's not at risk, so that I don't get in trouble, so that I'm not perceived as being slow or
Great. So you have to game your job as well as social media.
as good as my colleagues. And this is a very, very easy thing to predict happening, but it doesn't seem to be something that anyone has found a solution to yet. It feels that the more pervasive the surveillance, the worse that situation can get. So if you've got somebody who is not only being, tracked with keyboard strokes, which has been around since before the pandemic in certain sectors, but certainly became a big thing during the pandemic. That's why you had those videos of people that had something that was pressing the buttons every few seconds, or like people who were trying to game a Microsoft Teams to look like they were online so that it wouldn't go inactive if you didn't touch your keyboard. That has ballooned into something that's significantly different, where you have people who are returning to the workforce, or even starting in the workforce, in office. I'm talking about not just people who have started, but people who have been asked to return to the office full time, who are now.
And think about this: if you are in an RTO situation, they can do whatever the hell they basically want, right? To surveil you, cameras in the building, whatever. But if you're at your house, the best they can do is, oh, look, his mouse moved. Okay. And he's typing. We're good. But yeah, they can literally see everything you're doing if you're back in the office.
Facing a lot more surveillance even in the office that there was ever before the pandemic, and it's a really dire situation that a lot of people feel very uncomfortable about, but it's become so widespread, and this is the AIification of that. Basically, you've got a situation where they try to automate the surveillance, and employers think that that's a really good idea, but often the data that AI will have is not as good as you might think. And it might insert errors, it might have perceptions about you that are not correct. And what is happening at the moment is that employees and workers are in a situation where, unless they keep extremely diligent records of their own, it's very hard to dispute something that's watching you all day, every day, and say, I'm sure I didn't take 10-minute breaks. I'm sure that I was typing that entire time. I'm sure that, I didn't do this or I did do that. It's very hard to have that argument. And you're in a situation where you already know you're on the back foot because someone's.
And also too, I mean, this is the case in knowledge work, not just software or whatever, but a lot of what you're doing, you're sitting and thinking about a problem, how to solve it before you. Especially like even with AI, I got to sit there and figure out, how do I explain this, in certain chunks in a certain order so the AI will do it, in a good way, instead of just running off and doing whatever the fuck it wants to do. And then there's some aspects of your job where you need to talk to people. You need to go and interact with people to get to maybe access to some information or their piece of the puzzle that you got to put into your thing. This is not going to end well. You can't automate surveillance like that.
It's literally physically as if someone were watching you over your shoulder. And I know everyone here, and I'm sure the people who are watching have had that experience, and how difficult it is to type and think and maneuver and do all the things that you would normally do because you feel like someone's watching you. And so psychologically speaking, I think it's really, really difficult. And the more pervasive it becomes, the worse I think it will be.
How can workers advocate for themselves when their boss, maybe not their top level boss, but the person or the thing in this case that they are answering to is a black box, which people say is objective or neutral, when also we know that is
neutral,
basically not the case.
Neutral. It's going to be in the favor of HR, and we all know what HR's duty is.
And couldn't be the case based on any data set having some form of bias in it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think we've seen this play out before, especially in the ride-hailing and courier side of the employment sector. A lot of people have read all the stories about algorithmic decision making, and that does take place a lot in that sector. And I've reported on it many times before, but it's that idea of like AI will make mistakes. Much like human beings will make mistakes. And if employers don't put in an appeal system or put in a way for employees to sort of stand up for themselves and be heard, it's very, very difficult for things to go right. So in ride hailing, good examples were, for example, the AI that was not capable of identifying couriers correctly if they were Black or Asian, for example.
Yes. This is actually a big problem. Again, it's quality of data. What they trained the AI on to recognize, they probably didn't train on enough people of color. If you want to learn more about that, let me. There's actually a really good documentary about it. It's a little political. Let's see. May have to ask the AI here real quick because I always forget. But it's a really good way to learn a little more about why AI makes mistakes. And if it does make a mistake, it takes a human to go, yo, you gotta fix it. But then how many times are you gonna let it keep making a mistake before you have to put in brand new data with the fix in it? And this is the loop, the problem that you run into. Whoops, hold on. I just activated my screensaver. All right, let me ask the Jippity here. What's the documentary about AI and face recognition, specifically around errors with people of color? Yes, YouTube, I said it out loud. And I think it's been out for a little bit. Yeah, coded bias. That's it. Hold on, let me pull it up for you. I mean, it's a little woke because it came out in 2020. So, of course, they make it, it's racism and all that. But it's really just shit training, bad data. Here we go. Coded bias 2020. So I think it's available. On Prime Video. Oh, no, it used to be for free. So now they're charging for it. But you could probably find it somewhere. If you say all the high C's, I'm sure you could figure out how to get it. But yeah, that's a really good documentary to kind of give you an idea. And I think in that there's a story about how in the UK, they were using facial recognition to find terrorists in crowded areas. And they kept getting false hits. And they would yoink people into the van they had, and the AI's like, yeah, that's the guy. And then they'd ask him, it's like, no, it's just some dude going to work. And of course, these were people of a certain complexion. So I'll just leave it there. But yeah, that's just because they didn't have enough people, they didn't think to train the AI on all kinds of different faces of all kinds of different backgrounds. They just, basically the people in the lab, they trained it on. And this was, I believe, an AI that was trained by Microsoft, and they put it in commercial products, they put it in military products, and they had to take it off the shelf. So pretty big stink around that. All right, let's get back to it.
And they would just say, well, that's not you, and so therefore we won't give you work for the day. And therefore people were going, wait a second, that is me, and how do I prove that? And there's no way of actually contacting anyone, and the people they were contacting were not responsive. And then you sort of go, well, okay, well then I don't have any work. If you transpose that example into the wider work sphere, you can very much see a situation where, imagine, for whatever reason, the AI has not recorded you going to work one day, and you get into trouble with your boss.
Data center went offline.
I was at work, and they're like, well, it says here that you weren't. But then, there's certain scenarios where you're not even dealing with the boss. Who do you talk to? If the AI says no.
You have to go to the drive-through at Wendy's, and then you get the guy on there that's in India taking your order to transfer you to his manager, who also knows the manager at your company. That's how it works.
what do you do? And that's the big problem, I think, here with relying on a lot of AI that perhaps is making the decisions rather than just informing decisions, because you have no recourse to debate that. And, you know, anyone who's called into an HR meeting about their performance knows that, you know, the company's already kind of evaluated that data and made some decisions or made some suppositions about your performance. And so this just makes it a lot more difficult. The more power you provide to an AI versus a human manager means that you have less recourse to debate it and, you know, argue your side.
What if the AI decides all your employees just suck and just lays them all off? You're right, because I've heard of some of these larger AI companies. They automate a lot of things with AI, of course. Actually, I heard one of them was filing their taxes and doing all their books with AI, which could explain why they're getting all these wild fluctuations of, you know, 1 year we're making a 1 trillion and now we're making 4 trillion. It's like, whatever. But yeah, what if you automate HR? Because they're already interviewing people with AI, right? And they're sending AIs to lay off people. So no surprise there.
And I think, you know, that's the biggest issue that psychologically people face. But also, you know, when you have a situation when you have AI placed as an objective evaluator and it's not possible for anything to be an objective evaluator at all times, it's a tricky situation indeed.
Just finally, do you think this is something that could risk or maybe is already hardening work inequality? Because in researching some things for this, I found that people that work alongside AI or use AI as the way that I would put it in their job day to day, using it to do research or whatever it would be, are the ones which are getting wage growth. And then on the other side of things, thinking about warehouse workers or hospitality or retail or things like this, they're maybe having shifts assigned by AI based on the productivity metrics, which are all going on inside the AI and being fed up to the management. And especially for a product that was sold as democratizing power and helping people, you can have access to a lawyer and all these sorts of things, but maybe it actually, like you say, it's not so much that the issue is that AI is being used to help make the decisions, but that it is making the decisions, and then employees rather have no recourse to that, essentially.
Yeah. So again, I don't know I would ever do that. Anytime there's people involved in a process, you got to have a human in the loop. When you're doing like agents and things with AI and coding and all that, you got to have the person there involved and checking everything so it doesn't cause damage or do something. But yeah, like fully automating, I don't think we would ever get there. That's really dangerous. I don't know if I would ever work for a company that did that. Hell, I won't even go on an AI interview. I've had companies say they're looking for like an AI person that knows how to like code and all that stuff using AI. And then they're like, oh, the first screening interviews with an AI. I'm like, get out of here. I'm not going to talk to a machine. I could see maybe later on for an assessment, but even then I think I still wouldn't do it. I don't know. I don't know what do you think about that, chat? Would you want to work for a company that automates a lot of things with AI? You know, but I suppose if you've had a job where you badge in, you know, and you have to get through certain checkpoints, but there's always somebody watching or monitoring that to some degree. Yeah, take your Soma and be happy. Brave new world for sure. This kind of reminds me of the movie Brazil. The very beginning, they're showing those typewriters printing out like all these legal documents to serve arrest warrants, and a fly lands on the paper and the key hits it and it changes the T to a B. So it ends up being like Mr. Buttle turns into Tuttle or something. And then so like the guy goes through all the crap in the movie because of a fly in the works, messed up the machine. So it's the same thing with an AI. If it makes a hallucination, which manifests itself or can manifest itself as a mistake in a code or a decision or a process. And if a human's not there to catch it, it can't correct it and go, yo, bro, you got to redo what you did. But if you let it run through the whole thing, that mistake compounds. It compounds over time. And, you know, in the real world, in physical AI and automation, that could manifest into somebody losing their life or being physically injured. Whereas in software, it could just mean the program crashes, right? So it just, yeah, don't take the humans out of the loop. That's just fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because as you say, we mostly been talking about office workers, but this has spanned, you know, everything from transport logistics to manufacturing. So it's across every sector. Even, you know, people in the trades also are in a situation where they're being evaluated. And I think it really, this democratization, no system is perfect, but this democratization is kind of assuming that the AI will be more objective than a human being.
Interesting word choice. Did you catch that? Democratization. I don't recall hearing that I had any choice in the matter. Did you? Man.
And you know, in certain cases, I'm sure that could be the case. If everyone has had a foul manager, you might prefer for an AI to be evaluating you and managing you than a terrible manager. That's true. However, I feel like it makes a difference on who can see into that black box and who can probe the data that the AI is looking at and gathering.
Who owns that? Do you own that data? Can you tell the AI to delete all that history? What happens when you leave the company? Do you own that? Right? It's sort of like the privacy laws. The GDPR in Europe is actually probably some of the best legislation that got ahead of that, at least in like what companies do with your data when you sign up for services on the web. I mean, like they're training all these AIs and putting it in this massive blender and then putting it in a digital brain. Who owns it at that point? Do we have control of that? How do you extract that out? It's kind of fucked up.
And that does make a massive difference because, again, you know, I posited the example of, you know, let's say the AI decides you haven't gone to work today. Like, who do you talk to? Imagine if your manager and your manager's manager and your manager's manager's manager have no idea what is going on, and they have to work on the assumption that the AI is always correct. Then it doesn't really matter, even if you do have a conversation with someone, if they're not able to probe that data and actually use it and say for themselves whether this data is correct or not. And you enter into a situation where it's Kafkaesque, right? It's one of those horrible nightmare scenarios that you might expect from Black Mirror,
the cockroach.
where it's like, you know, the algorithm has decided you've done this or you haven't done that. And, you know, the only people who could possibly save you are the CEO of your company and the C-suite, who are never going to look at your data.
Yeah. They'll outsource it to somebody overseas with or somebody with an H-1B here. But again, the CEOs, they don't know how, like I keep saying, they don't know how the sausage is made. They just, whatever tool helps them make number go up, that's all they care about. That's all they care about.
And so, yes, you have a situation where a lot of workers have been fighting back. Again, we've seen it in ride hailing, we've seen it in manufacturing, we've seen it in a lot of places where it feels that there are consequences if you do not hit a certain metric of performance that is analyzed and evaluated by AI. And you've got people who are trying to just game the system. And it feels very much that instead of a democratization of AI, we're looking at a performative culture rising where people are just trying to desperately game the system, not because they're trying to not do their jobs or be lazy or anything like that, but to try to game the system so that the system doesn't penalize them. And
so you're too busy gaming and not working. That's where this is going. This is kind of like what happened to social media and this platform. I feel like people are just spending all their time trying to game it and not really creating anything. And so now we're getting all this slop and the thumbnails, you know. Hopefully you can see I try to create some kind of vibe or tone, you know, with my thumbnails. And I'm not going to sit here and read, you know, ChatGPT scripts and all that stuff. All this is off the top of my head. I'm trying to, you know, even with this, this business idea that I have here, although this is not the business application, but yes, there's AI being used, but I'm in the middle of it. There's a human connection there. You guys can talk to it and I control it. And it's not like just, totally automated. There's a reason why I built it that way, was to still keep the humanness and the community aspect of interacting with us with some AI in there, make it fun and entertaining. But where all this is going, I don't like it.
Don't end up at the bottom of the barrel. And that to me is, it's not so much sci-fi. It's something that could very much play out in some workplaces where people don't have those human stopgaps and that human element to, curtail a bit of the surveillance. And ultimately, I think employers need to really evaluate whether the surveillance that they're actually doing on their staff is justified, because bums on seats was a strategy at some point. Now it's suddenly I can see you through your camera while you're answering customer service calls. What for? Either you trust your workers or you don't, right?
Well, again, it's a scaling problem. They need the AI to be able to tell somebody somewhere, hey, this happened. I mean, even look at this platform when the algorithm catches something. And even the appeals process is like totally automated by AI, and you're not really talking to anybody. It's a scale problem, because in order to enforce all of that, you simply cannot have enough manpower to police it. The only thing that I can think of in history that maybe came close to achieving that was the GDPR in East Germany. When they had, I think the statistic I heard was nearly 30% of their population was spying on the other 70% of the population through surveillance, spying, going around asking questions, asking neighbors, and trying to plant moles and all that stuff. And that's with human boots on the ground with maybe some video stuff and then a lot of bugging and audio, which actually brings me to a movie that's actually really good that talked about this. That came out probably about 20 years ago. It was really good. It was about the GDPR. And at the end, they show you this massive library that they preserved all the tapes so that they could go back and kind of like have the record of what happened and the level of surveillance that most people in East Germany had no idea was going on well after until the wall fell. Let me ask Jippity here. Let's see. What was the German movie that came out, I think, in 2005 to 2007 about the East German surveillance state? And it's a film in the German language. Don't worry, kids. There are subtitles. And I think there's a dubbed version. I believe it won the Oscar, a foreign film. Yeah, The Lives of Others. Das Leben der Anderen. Really good movie. So this guy, he had this job. I think it's a story of a if I remember, this guy here on the right, he had one of the people, he had the job of monitoring people. They would record things. And then after the wall fell, he was one of the people that helped make that library happen. And it kind of exposed what had happened. Pretty good movie. All right, so where was we? We're still actually, I think this is the end of the video.
And I think that's a question that employers should be asking themselves, certainly before installing any kind of technology that surveils people.
Well,
yeah. So there you go. And by the way, this thumbnail here, myths and fairy tales. Ed Zitron, that's the data center guy I was telling you about. He is brutal. He doesn't hold back any punches. Absolutely awesome. If you really want to kind of see what's going on with the data center stuff, because a lot of the issues around AI and the hype actually all pin on the debt that's being created around trying to build these data centers. And my understanding is that anything that's been planned after 2023 still has not gone into play. So only the data centers that are being built now are the ones that broke ground in 2023. 3 years ago. And that's before ChatGPT got launched in November of 2023 or 22. I'm sorry. So it's after. Never mind. My bad. Okay. So let's see here. Just one last run. If you want to ask a question of any of the AI characters, let me bring up the instruction screen for you. Still working on automating some of the buttons here. I'm actually writing software for the Stream Deck to talk to my platform here, so I can beep boop up buttons here. So if you want to talk to any of the AIs on deck, those are the commands. And last chance to send in anything before we move on in the stream here. So I'll give you a couple seconds to look at that menu, and I will get something else going here. Excuse my lip smacking and swallowing. All right. So we'll postpone that, and you have the commands there. And we'll go back to Potato Head. So I forgot to show earlier, there was another failure. So a lot of common themes that we're seeing with this physical AI stuff is they go out into the real world, and then they get confused and just start doing random stuff, run in front of emergency vehicles, circle around cul-de-sacs, go into live shooter scenes, active arrest scenes, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I found this other short here of a delivery robot causing havoc. So where is my, there it is, there's my button. I get there eventually. Would you like a shake with your fries?
Fucking Muppet. You fucking Muppet.
Where did it go? Oh, it went down into a manhole.
Can I have your beat?
Wait, literally, she's doing her best. She's doing her best, you guys.
Hey, in the robot's defense, it looked flat on the map. I don't know, you think with all that LiDAR and those sensors, it would be able to detect that kind of thing, but I think the AIs are making some assumptions here. So again, do we want these things running companies and working alongside people when they make decisions like that? Probably not. All right, so I didn't see any new commands come in, but yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about tonight. To pay more attention to what they do at work when they give you a computer. They're watching you, whether directly or indirectly. Even if they install anything, just through chat programs, they have a way to monitor and see if you're acting or being active or doing anything. But now they can take all that information, have an AI look at your chats, your activity, and surmise from that if you're being productive or not. So be wary out there. Hope you all have a great weekend. I'm going to end it tonight. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you supporting the channel. I know it's been kind of spotty lately. Just going through a lot of big changes with career, trying to get my new business off the ground. I think next week I will demo what the product is. I'm actually starting a business entity around that. And yeah, a lot of cool stuff happening, and wish me luck next week because I'll be meeting with a gentleman that may actually hire me to build something of a similar nature for him, and maybe start getting some cheddar in the door here because I need work. All right, so everybody, have a great rest of your weekend. Stay safe out there, and until the next one, thanks for joining me. Peace.